Hi friends, welcome to Rajis Reflections. Today I'm here not to take sides, not men versus women, not tradition versus modernity. Here we are going to ponder some questions. Why are so many Indian marriages breaking emotionally even before they break legally? Why are marital counseling gaining importance? If you are married, thinking of a marriage, a parent, or simply a concerned citizen, this reflection is for you. Marriages are not failing because people are bad. They are struggling because life has changed, but our emotional preparation has not. Earlier generations adjusted silently. This generation questions loudly. Neither approach alone works. Couples now face more emotional demands with fewer coping tools, leading them to seek professional help. In today's fast world with more responsibilities to cater, most couples talk to each other only when something is not working. When they talk, the questions are normally problem focused questions. Suppose if the question implies that what is done is wrong, like you never talk to me, you seem to be always irritated and busy, you are not responsible enough, you don't care about me or about the family, etc. etc. You might feel what's wrong in asking such questions. The reflection here is, do we ever ask about our spouse's inner state before pointing out their faults or their behavioral expressions? It implies blame, triggers defense or withdrawal, often escalates conflict. Instead, if the question is focused on coping mechanisms, like how are you coping, how do you manage issues, is something weighing on you, are you feeling overwhelmed, and so on, then it focuses on emotional capacity, invites honesty, and reduces defensiveness and builds connection. We need to have a slightly different approach in our perception and the related expressions. That's all. Why does this matter in today's marriages? Because modern spouses are overworked, emotionally stretched, and carrying invisible pressures like work, parents, finances, and expectations. When coping is weak, behavior worsens. So often, the problem is not the person, but the pressure. People rarely misbehave because they don't care. They misbehave because they are emotionally overloaded. When coping is addressed, behavior often improves naturally. In one word, before correcting the behavior, check the emotional battery. That is what the question is now inviting the couples to reflect on. When we think of women empowerment, without any second thought, we know that it is essential and irreversible. But empowerment also comes with new emotional challenges. For example, a woman manages the office, deadlines, children, and elders. She does not complain until one day she explodes. Everyone immediately asks, why this sudden change? All these days, you are very accommodative, adjustive, and silent. Only a few may think and ask, how long was she drowning silently? In other words, a working woman today has to manage the professional pressure, carry the emotional labor at home, and also be expected to be strong, independent, and endlessly patient. Empowerment should not mean emotional loneliness, but that does not mean that they are always right in a marital relationship. As I already said, women empowerment is essential and overdue. It has corrected long standing injustices and given women voice, agency, and independence. Still, a long way to go in many states and many communities. However, empowerment without emotional balance can unintentionally create new forms of inequality, where men, despite being cooperative, supportive, and accommodative, also experience suffering. Many times, men's silent suffering is rarely acknowledged. Now, let us pause and look at men. Many men today support their partner's education and career, share domestic and caregiving responsibilities, respect autonomy and equality. Yet, they often face emotional neglect or dismissal of their feelings Constant comparison and criticism, pressure to adapt endlessly without validation, lack of safe spaces to express their vulnerability. The man has to support his parents, help at home, avoid conflict, respect his spouse, yet he is told he is emotionally unavailable. No one asks what he is carrying inside. Most of the time, it appears normally men are silent, they don't speak out and try to escape from conflicting issues. Silence is not absence of emotion. Often it is fear of being misunderstood. For many men, this is a coping mechanism, not rejection. Labeling happens when we assign a negative meaning without understanding the reason. Common labels are like, he is emotionally unavailable, he doesn't care for me, he is selfish, typical male behavior, he is more attached to his parents, his sisters and brothers than to me and to my children. Once such labeling is given to him, then the person is no longer listened to. Instead, he is judged. Why did I say no longer listened to? Here, listening means trying to understand why he is silent, recognizing his stress, fear, confusion, or overload, creating a safe space without interrogation. For example, a man returns home after work, sits quietly, and avoids conversation. The labeling response is something like, you never talk, you don't care about this family, blah blah. Whereas the listening response will be something like, you seem very withdrawn of late. Is something worrying you? The first one shuts the door, whereas the second one opens. Silence is not always absence of feeling. Often it is an unexpressed emotion. When we label a person, we increase distance. When we listen, we invite trust. This is applicable, of course, to both the genders. To conclude, if we rush to label withdrawal as indifference, we may miss a silent cry for understanding. India has strong laws to protect women from genuine abuse. These laws are necessary, but here is also an uncomfortable truth. Law is a shield, not a weapon. An argument escalates. A complaint is filed in anger. Even if withdrawn later, arrest, humiliation, and broken trust leave permanent scars. Courts increasingly ask couples to mediate first because legal victory rarely heals emotional loss. One should reflect here. Are we seeking justice or do we need a release for unresolved pain? Counseling also helps only when it is balanced. It harms when it assumes guilt. Counseling fails when one voice is validated faster, silence is treated as indifference, and emotion is rewarded over effort. Healthy counseling should hear both the stories fully, respects visible and invisible sacrifices, separates intention from impact. During counseling, we should reflect if this conversation is going to help in healing or just trying to prove a point. For parents and other elders, an important points to be taken into consideration. Not to take immediate sides. Don't give legal threats. Emotional fuel does not protect your child. They often destroy two lives instead of saving one. As elders or parents, how our support system should be normally is, we should encourage calm dialogue, choose mediation before escalation, and protect the children from adult conflict. Marriage today is not about who is right, it is about who is willing to listen before damage becomes permanent. Empowerment needs responsibility, adjustment needs appreciation, law needs restraint, counseling needs balance. As roles change faster than emotional norms, power imbalance can shift, not disappear. When either partner holds emotional leverage, marriage suffers. The core issue is not empowerment, but the absence of mutual empathy and accountability. Equality cannot thrive where only one voice is heard, one pain is legitimized, or one sacrifice is assumed. Healthy marriages require emotional responsibility from both partners, space for male vulnerability without ridicule, empowered women who remain compassionate, men who are equal partners and not invisible supporters. From a dharmic perspective, also, marriage or grihasthasrama is sahadharma, that is, walking together, not ahead, not behind. True empowerment uplifts without silencing. True partnership listens without dominating. Before blaming, pause. Before threatening, reflect. Before breaking, speak. If this made you reflect, share it not to accuse, but to heal. Thank you for joining me on Rajis Reflections. As we continue this journey together, I kindly request you to continue supporting, subscribing, and sharing the channel with others who may benefit. Your support makes a real difference and motivates me to keep adding value through every episode. Let us grow together, reflect deeper, and spread positivity around us. Stay healthy, be happy, and radiate happiness till we meet again.